Welcome to Warehouse and Operations as a Career. Marty here again, and I'm really excited about today's discussions. We're having our first quarterly roundtable talk. We have three guests with us today. First, we have Philip from Chicago. Philip is an operations system manager traveling around the nation installing and rolling out unloading management systems and time tracking systems. I understand you're actually in our home state of Chicago tonight. Last week, I know you were in South Texas in the Dallas area.
Yes, sir. I finally made it back to Chicago. Last week I was in Dallas, and the week before that I was in Louisiana. So it kind of teased me a little bit, but now I'm back to the weather that I'm used to.
Fantastic. Well, Philip, welcome to your first visit with us here at WAOC.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Next, we have Joe visiting with us again. If you remember, he's kind of our go-to safety guy. Joe, I believe you just finished up some long-awaited and well-earned instructional certifications, didn't you, sir?
That's correct, Marty. It's a constant. The safety process is always a learning process.
It is. Now, what all do you actually have under your belt now?
Well, now I'm a CPR first aid AED instructor for medic. I'm also a 1910.178 forklift PIT instructor for various name brands. You know, you're always going to find a mix and match wherever you go. Here pretty soon, I'll be a certified safety and health official, which will really benefit the company that I'm with. Other than that, I like to think I'm a pretty well-rounded safety specialist.
Well, from all my dealings with you, I can attest to that. And I was able to reach out and grab Rodrigo again. Rodrigo is a national facilities manager overseeing several different facilities, their supervisors and the teams. And you do more than your fair share of traveling as well. How you been, sir?
Doing pretty good, Marty. Really do appreciate for the invite again for WAOC, and just glad to be here.
Outstanding, and we greatly appreciate it. Let's start off with you, Joe. We've had a lot of questions about 29 CFR 1910.178, and I mention it pretty regularly throughout our episodes, to the point that I think a lot of us may be tired of hearing it. Can you explain a bit about what it is, the why, and when it came to be? It's actually a bit more than a regulation, isn't it?
Oh, that's right, Marty. Anytime you hear CFR or 1910 dot whatever, 1900 dot whatever, what they're talking about is codes of federal regulation. So we're actually talking about law. All these laws came about in 1970 when President Nixon, president at the time, signed the OSH Act into effect. And of course, that's the Occupational Safety and Health Act that also developed OSHA, that we all know and love today. It also developed NIOSH, which is the testing wing for OSHA and all products, and it pretty much sets the standard for all that. Now, why did all these get signed into law? 1970, you're still looking at Vietnam War era. There was a very large industrial push pretty much since World War I up to that point, where we had all the Americans working. And it was a push to get out battleships, planes, just whatever, because we were always supporting some wartime action. Well, in the course of that happening, we lost a lot of workers in the workforce at that time. And, because of the war efforts, it was kind of overlooked. But the minute we started kind of putting the brakes on things and realizing that we were suffering casualties on both sides, that's what prompted all the occupational laws to get put into effect. So it's more than just, say, forklifts. It's everything in the warehouse, including forklifts and tools and procedures and even communication with employees.
That is really interesting. You know, those books, I've seen them. They're like 8 or 9 inches thick. There's a lot of regs in there, but I never knew the history of it. That's really interesting. Thanks for kind of pointing that out to us, Joe.
Sure.
Philip, we talk a lot about our responsibilities regarding the time clock. Back in my day, we used like time cards, and things have changed quite a bit. Everything is so system-oriented. Today, clocks link to so many other systems. Are they really that much better for us?
Oh, absolutely, Marty. There's a huge change over the years from the timekeeping systems. Um, like you say, back in your day, you just got a car pretty much.
You making me sound old, man.
I ain't too far behind you. I've also punched those time cards before. But now, the way technology is, basically a time card is a card that you can do various things with. It can be your time card. It can be a way for you to punch in and out of different job functions throughout the warehouse. The tracking systems and the technology these days are amazing. Too much to name at one time, but yeah, it's shocking and I love it.
I've really noticed that. I go to several different facilities throughout the week, and I've seen systems to where, like, you literally punch in and out for everything you do. If you're forklift driving, and then it's break time, and then it's lunchtime, and then you may go to some cleanup duties in the aisles or something, right there on their equipment, they can literally punch in and out of different functions, and everything is really tracked, which is great for the employee because it also shows, exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, not only for the employee, it's great for the customers. It shows accountability for everything that the customer, might want to see or what they're actually paying for. Um, a lot of times, like you said, it benefits the employee too because they might want to know a specific time frame that they did certain actions. Uh, if they're missing time for money, things of that nature. It does a whole lot of time tracking and reporting is a big part of it. You can just about get any kind of report you want from the time tracking systems that we got set up these days.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm not a real computer guy, but I do really groove on all the computer systems that's available to us today. It's really interesting.
Yes, sir.
Rodrigo, we talk a lot about the distribution centers. What's some of today's challenges and opportunities in distribution?
Yeah, Marty, just kind of repeating about the time clock, that's, it's a beauty of all kinds of reports that we do nowadays for all the different customers. But, the challenges for the distribution center, I think I got about 3 points that I think, they're really important. One of them is, pressures of, rapidly changing workforce. We see our customers and prospects, reacting to a rapidly changing workforce. What do I mean by that? Whenever there's an overall personnel shortage or an aging workforce, near the retirement, facing the challenges and looking for solutions to make the distribution attractive place to work using management techniques, change the work so it is more attractive to the younger generations. A lot of people that are hungry for an opportunity. So those are the challenges to try to make that attractive for those younger generations. Second of all is preparing for the demand peak for holiday season. That's always a challenge, pretty much throughout the year. Our industry is pressure and stress every year during the holiday season, and frankly, for the weeks and months running up to the holidays to make sure that we're ready, staffing wise and stock wise. In relations to that, making sure that we all are following the safety regulations for audit purposes, and just making sure that we have all those guidelines. Third of all, and I think this is the most important one, inventory management. What do I mean by this is having a total control of your inventory, from receiving to shipping. Lacking this fundamentals, underestimating of your diseased stock can lead into too much overstock or even worse, shortages that could make a lot of customers very unhappy. So I think those are the 3 biggest challenges that we see sometimes in the distribution center.
Yeah, those are great points. And one that I have really noticed over the last several years is the inventory levels. We live in such a demand world and everybody's trying to watch that dollar. I notice companies are keeping a lot less stock in the warehouse, and they're really running it through the doors and shipping it out the doors, which pretty much is productivity. And that's another reason I think productivity is chased to the point that it's chased these days.
Absolutely.
Again, a lot of technology plays an important part in tracking all those inventory sheets and data that companies need.
That's a really good point. Everything is intertwined together now. With the systems talking like they do, everything is really available on the screen. That's a good point. Joe, you're kind of from the production facility world. Could you share your thoughts on that industry a little bit? Maybe its challenges and opportunities?
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about that right now when we were talking about technology. Most of these technologies that are in place right now are to facilitate production. There's a little bit of production in any department that you're in. So let's take the warehouse. Now, true warehouse personnel don't make anything per se, but they still have a workload that they're responsible for getting out, i.e. X number of pallets that have to get collected, sorted, built, pushed out, loaded, unloaded, et cetera, et cetera. So there's very much a productivity measurement in there, because when you deal with anything in the production world, you have to be able to quantify that somehow. And gauging numbers across all departments, whether it be shipping, receiving, being able to pull all your orders in X amount of hours for it to be profitable when, trucks XYZ leave the facility. It's a bird's eye view of everything and all pieces working together.
That's true, and I hadn't even thought of it that way, but no, you're absolutely right. Philip, you started in the unloading or lumping world. Today you travel the states working with a lot of young men and women. Any pointers you could share with our listeners, sir, and maybe tell us about your background and how you landed where you're at today?
Absolutely.
It's kind of a loaded question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's okay. Actually, it's kind of ironic. When I first got out of high school, I went to a computer school, a little computer technical school, where they give you a certificate after 18 months. And back then, I don't want to sound too old either, but back then, there weren't many computer jobs available for, entry level guys trying to get into the computer world. So it kind of forced me to get into the warehousing and the production world. And I actually started my first production warehouse at the age of 19, I want to say. And I went from stocking racks to forklift driving. And keep in mind, back then, we don't have the training available. We didn't have the training available to us like the guys these days have. So I want to say to the guys, if you get the opportunity to get trained on any type of equipment, and you got companies out here that's willing to pay for it, absolutely take advantage of that. Even if you got spend a few dollars yourself to learn how to drive a forklift or operate any type of machinery dealing with warehouses or production, I suggest that you go ahead and take advantage of that, because it's well worth it. And then from there, I just kind of like, what does this do? What does that do while working in warehouses? And it kind of gave me self-taught lessons on different opportunities that I took advantage of. I just kind of learned everything. And in my world, back then it was called a generalist. And the more you knew, the more opportunities that you had to move up. And that's kind of like the majority of my story as far as production. I just kind of learned everything. And then that led to me getting into being in charge of projects, becoming a project manager, and then eventually into supervision. And I just been climbing the ladder ever since, just constantly learning. And to this day, I'm still learning. After over 25 years of doing warehouse work, and it's just something that I grew to love, and that makes it more easier to accomplish your goals when you're doing something that you love.
It really does. And that's one of the things, everything that you just said about raising your hand, being available for that next position, and thinking ahead. Start learning that next task before it's actually yours even. And then you've got a little bit more knowledge to impress management with, and raise your hand, and they'll give you a shot.
Yep. And although I didn't get a degree, all these years of experience, I ended up getting back to what I initially started out to be, and that's to get back into the technical, computer world. And I'm just enjoying it to the fullest. Like I said, I'm constantly learning every day. I'm blessed to have, I want to say, the best of both worlds. The knowledge of knowing how to run all operations in the warehouse, as well as have a foot in on the technical side of how things go. So I love it. To the young guys out here, especially those that don't have much of a chance of going to college, start out with the entry level and just think big. Learn as much as you can, and I'm a living witness that it'll pay off for you in the end if you just hang in there.
It does. It really does, and there's a lot of opportunity out there in our industry.
Oh, endless.
Rodrigo.
Too many to name.
Oh, there really is, isn't it? Rodrigo, you work daily with young leads and supervisors. What maybe could you share? Maybe some pointers you could give us on advancement at some of our facilities out there.
Sure, Marty. Some of the things that I think, I'll give you some pointers that I think, believe that has helped me and cultivated on my culture, to continue to move up, within the positions that I've learned, throughout the years. Some of the stuff that I always, work on is write down your goals. As an individual, you're in control of your own organization, and you have to, post, your goals as well. Here's some of the things that I think a lot of the young guys get confused, thinking that there are goals, but they're not. Here's some examples. Saying that you want a better job is not a goal. Saying that you want a lot of money is not a goal. Saying that you want to live better, in a better house or anything like that, it's not a goal. A goal is pretty much a definition of, saying what type of job do you want and when. A goal is saying how much money you want to earn and by when. A goal is saying how much you want to put down on your next house and when would you purchase it. You need to know where you are and, where, as far as whenever you're beginning a trip, and that's a goal right there. Goals allow you to see past the orders of, you're picking, the product you're receiving, and the packages that you're shipping. Another thing is, write down the list of strengths and weaknesses. That has always given me a lot of opportunities down the road. Not only does it prepare you to find out what are your weaknesses, where do you need to work on. Like for example, you need to know what you do well and what you don't. This way, whenever a position comes in within the company, becomes available, whether you are truly qualified for that job or capable of succeeding at it. These are the things that will help you achieve your goals or keep you from them, and then that's how you're going to be able to learn how to work towards that goal. Another thing is don't associate yourself with negative individuals, whether it's at home or at work. You're always going to want to make sure that you keep a positive mindset of it. And it is hard to do because of, a lot of us have been conditioned to be negative. Don't work too hard, take it easy, I'm doing okay. Those are all canned responses when you ask a person when they're how they're doing. Why don't they reply with, I'm doing fantastic, I'm doing such a great job, or, just having a fantastic day. Those are the kind of responses that we want to kind of associate with, just because, a lot of the people have already been conditioned with, I'm just doing okay, So those are the kind of things you're going to want to be able to separate whether the negative individuals from. Another thing is, keep your work area clean. There's no excuse for a dirty warehouse. Let's say, for example, if you're a picker or a put away person, the aisles should be pretty spotless. There shouldn't be any shrink wrap or any aisles, in the aisles. There shouldn't be any empty boxes on the floor. There shouldn't be pop cans or other trash cans on the shelves. If you're a packer, it is difficult to be spotless, but at least be clean. Disorganized packing, and it's pretty much tends to a lot of shipping errors that will occur down the road from there. A lot of the young supervisors, make sure you clean your desk. There is no excuse for unread magazines, freight bills, paperwork, pick tickets, et cetera, all over your desk. Every time, there is a shipping error and your boss comes in and talks to you about it, is that what you want him or her to see, whenever you're sitting at your desk, So, that's how you want to set up an image. You want them to keep back to their office, and you want them to, to see what you're actually doing, being organized. And that's how you manage some of that stuff, because one of the things that you got to remember is, your environment is a reflection of you. So those are some of the simple pointers that I think, a lot of the young guys can learn from them.
I agree with you, Rodrigo. It's bigger than, in my opinion, it's bigger than just getting a paycheck. I mean, I love, you can tell the difference from those employees that just want to get a paycheck, versus those that actually care. And, I've always cared about my job when I worked versus just, getting a paycheck. Of course, we all want to get paid, but I mean, it's a sense of caring about, what you're doing, and your employer recognizing that you care.
It is, isn't it? Those are some fantastic keywords, and we talk a lot about keywords here at WAOC, and both y'all are absolutely right. I mean, that leads towards a goal, and if you set a goal, it really gives you a target, to reach for and something to obtain. And I think having a good, strong goal, and we talk a lot about this at WAOC, it will help push you, into the positions and into the advancements that you really are looking for.
Yes, I agree.
Joe, one thing that we hear at our orientations, we've really been talking a lot about orientations lately, new facility orientations, and even the hiring orientation is injuries and how important it is to immediately report them. Why is that so important in the safety world?
Ooh, sorry about that, Marty. My hands are tired from still applauding what your other two guests there say.
Those were good, wasn't they?
I mean, that's just so true. I mean, I'm getting off topic here a little bit, but everybody needs to be understanding that when you put your name on something, that means a whole lot.
You're exactly right. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so keeping that in mind, you always want to associate yourself with good things and know that when someone sees your name come across on a report, that it's good things happening. Now, reporting injuries, reporting accidents, first, we want to make sure that if there's anything that could affect the employee, that we get them taken care of immediately. All right, because if you get bumped by something heavy or hit by something fast, a fast operating machine or something, your injuries might not be external, and when we follow the correct reporting procedures, everyone is going to come out ahead. It's going to be a win for the employer, for the employee, for everyone. The minute that we deviate from the steps that have been put in place, all rules, regs, laws, etc., have been put in place for a reason. And most of the time, they've been pretty well thought out as to if this happens, then, do X, or if this didn't happen, then do Y. And it primarily and number one takes care of the employee. Secondly, whatever it is that caused that injury, accident, whatever it may be, can finally be addressed to prevent it from happening to anyone else. So if there's something that could cause someone to be injured, or you almost got injured by it, and instead of feeling embarrassed and reporting it to somebody, you just ignore it and turn your back to it, well, you just left a potential hazard for somebody else to fall in now.
Oh, that's a really good point. I was having this is about 2 weeks ago, I was having a quick conversation with an insurance guy, and he brought up, report the smallest thing, because if it's not reported, it's hard to claim against, later down the road also.
Oh, absolutely, because it's the same as if you have an accident in your car. You're going to bring up a whole different set of questions and, put yourself in a spot that you wouldn't have had to been in if you had just followed the procedures that were previously told to you. When everybody goes to work, part of going to work is getting this rundown. You actually have somebody that tells you, hey, if this happens, do XYZ. If you're injured, you're hurt, if you're going to be late, if you're going to this, if you're going to that, you're actually told all these things. So there's really no reason to not follow the directions that you've been given. When we follow directions and we do what we're supposed to do at work and we stay safe, that just tells our employer, hey, I love this job. I'm glad to be here. We're ready to work and do what needs to be done, and all of us are going to go home safe. And, being an employer, that's what everybody wants.
So true. Rodrigo, toss a thought out there. Let's talk distribution for just a second.
Yeah, let me kind of give you some thoughts and suggestions, especially for the young leagues. Let's kind of keep at it, I think you can never have enough, suggestions or, tips to try to, be successful out there. A couple of things, kind of like what Philip had mentioned, about the pay, stop being concerned about your pay. A lot of times, nature kind of kicks in and says, well, how much is this guy making? Or, and then all of a sudden you're worrying about how much everybody else is making aside from yourself. All that does is pretty much, you have to stop being concerned with others or making order in order to, to take effect. Because if you're concerned with that person who makes more than you, then you will do less and always make less. That's always the bottom of it.
Yeah. And even, don't worry about other people. If they got in trouble, if they didn't get in trouble, just remember we got ourselves to take care of.
Absolutely. That's, we got a family to take, that should be a main focus of it. Another good one that I always, especially when I do visits at different facilities, do something that is not your responsibility every day. Just an example, most people are quick to say that that's not my responsibility, even though, even if they don't, vocalize it, many still think about it. Many warehouse employees will walk by a piece of trash or on the floor several times without picking it up. Mainly if it's not your job, you will get noticed by taking responsibility for things, both big and little. Another one is, finish what you start. When assigned a task, complete it. Then tell your supervisor who assigned it to you that it was completed, and then they can scratch it off their list, and all they can, after they scratch it off, ask them what's next. What do we got going on? That always just kind of be proactive about those kind of things. Another one that is, I've learned from many of my, superiors and, especially nowadays, I try to keep learning from everybody. Keep a notepad and take notes. that's a really important, I think I've learned when I was, about 5 years ago, I saw one of my managements always carrying a notepad. That is very important. A lot of the warehouse supervisors do not keep accurate notes. They think that they can remember everything. Therefore, make it your responsibility to take notes and tasks that you're assigned for. This shows your supervisor that you're conscious, not only for yourself, but for your employees, for whatever things we got to get done. So that's a really big thing that pretty much kind of, when I started this career, kind of stuck to me. So, I've learned a whole lot about that, making sure that you keep notes of
it. I learned very early on, never say that's not my job. And you're absolutely right. Communicate with our supervisors. I love the notepad. I've carried one for, 25 years. Still have one with me all the time. I've got one in front of me right now. Okay, Joe, wrap us up with your thoughts on safety, sir.
Definitely become involved in whatever safety program, meeting, or whatever, your job tends to offer. Stand up and show people that you've got what it takes to do your job correctly. Because really, that's what safety comes down to is that you're able to do your job right, which means you're going home safely and your coworkers are too. Even if it's something simple like picking up trash, picking up a piece of wood, just make sure you pay attention and ask questions and get involved. That's the most important part. Be safe and get involved.
I agree. Man, I really enjoyed today's discussions. I want to thank each of you for taking a few minutes to visit with us here at WAOC. And we'd like each of you to come back and share some more of that wisdom with us, if you would, gentlemen.
Anytime.
It's been a pleasure, Marty.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'd like to thank each of you for listening in with us today. Please send us a comment if you enjoyed today's show at host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com and share your thoughts on our Twitter and Facebook feeds at Warehouse and Ops. Until next week, be productive and let's be safe doing it.